The garnet and blue jersey clinging to his body, the ball stitched to his left foot, and that shy look that hid a storm of talent. At Barça, Messi didn't just play soccer, he turned it into pure emotion. He destroyed defenses, humiliated rivals, and did whatever he wanted with the ball. Every time he stepped onto the field, magic was guaranteed. In every play, there was joy, amazement, and even tears from those who watched him shine. But in his prime, Messi was much more than unbeatable. He didn't just break records, he broke logic. And the most surprising part is that he didn't reach his peak just once, or even twice. Lionel Messi reached 5 completely different levels. Each time, he evolved into something football had never seen before. This is not the story of a player at his best. It's the story of a man who dominated 4 different eras of football. Let's begin. Messi had arrived from Rosario to La Masia with a dream and a serious problem: his growth. Barça helped him with his medical treatment, and he soon began to show that he wasn't just any player. Frank Rijkaard, the first team coach, was the one who gave him the opportunity. In that locker room were already Ronaldinho, Samuel Eto'o, and Deco, a Barça that was rebuilding itself to become great again. From day one, Ronaldinho adopted him as a younger brother. The Brazilian was the biggest star in world football, but he saw something different in Messi. Their connection was immediate. In 2005, Messi scored his first official goal with Barcelona. The assist? Ronaldinho, an image that would remain forever. The Brazilian's smile as he celebrated the birth of a phenomenon. For the 2005-2006 season, Barça formed a fearsome attack: Ronaldinho, Samuel Eto'o, and a young Messi who was starting to earn important minutes. That year, Barcelona dominated in Spain and conquered Europe, lifting the Champions League in Paris. Messi didn't play the final due to a hamstring injury, and he watched it from the stands with tears in his eyes. It was a bittersweet victory for him. The biggest trophy had arrived too soon, without him being able to step on the pitch. In March 2007, the entire world realized that Messi was no longer just a promise. Against Real Madrid at the Camp Nou, at just 19 years old, he scored a historic hat-trick to draw 3-3. That day, the Messi of the Clásicos was born, the kid who dared to destroy the eternal rival without fear, as if he had spent his whole life playing those matches. Between 2006 and 2008, Messi went from being the academy's crown jewel to becoming the team's most unbalancing player. The goal against Getafe in 2007, replicating Maradona's run against England, was the final proof an unrepeatable talent had arrived. But while Messi shined, Frank Rijkaard's cycle was beginning to fade. Ronaldinho was no longer the same, Samuel Eto'o was struggling with physical issues, and the team was showing signs of exhaustion. Messi was no longer a kid. He had grown up in Ronaldinho's shadow. He had amazed the world in the Clásicos, and he had shown he was ready to inherit the throne. Even though he missed the 2006 Champions League, the future was his. Frank Rijkaard's cycle was ending, and what was coming next would be a revolution. The moment when Messi would go from a promise to becoming the centerpiece of the best team in history. In the summer of 2008, Barcelona was in crisis. After the end of Frank Rijkaard's cycle, the club needed a radical change. Pep Guardiola, a coach with no experience at the elite level, was chosen as a risky bet. His first decision shocked everyone, letting Ronaldinho and Deco, the team's stars, leave. Instead of signing new superstars, Guardiola put his faith in the academy and, above all, in a 21-year-old kid, Lionel Messi. The beginnings weren't easy. Barça lost its first league match against Numancia and tied the second one against Racing Santander. Many started to doubt the new project. But very soon, the team found an unstoppable rhythm. A streak of 9 consecutive league wins, with Messi as the main protagonist. During that season, Messi played as a right winger, but Guardiola saw something more. His ability to move between lines, receive the ball, turn, and attack spaces wasn't that of a classic winger. Pep wanted the entire game to revolve around him. And then came the decisive moment, a match against Real Madrid at the Santiago Bernabeu. Guardiola dared to try a revolutionary idea, placing Messi as a false 9. What did that mean? That instead of waiting on the wing or playing as a fixed centre-forward, Messi would drop a few meters into midfield. That simple adjustment dismantled opposing defenses. Centre-backs didn't know whether to follow him and leave space behind, or hold their position and let him receive with freedom. It was an unsolvable dilemma. Messi, with his vision, speed, and dribbling, turned that position into a lethal weapon. The result was devastating. Barça dominated at will. Messi became the team's offensive axis, scoring and assisting with an ease never seen before. He finished the season with 38 goals and 19 assists in 51 matches, his best numbers up to that point. More importantly, Barça won the historic treble. They won La Liga, the Copa del Rey, and the Champions League, with Messi as the top scorer of the Champions League, despite not being a traditional centre-forward. That year was not only the beginning of the Guardiola era, it was also the birth of the Messi who would change modern football. The false nine Messi, the player who forced the entire world to rethink how a team should play, and how one man could become the absolute centre of a system. The 2009-2010 season began with a Barcelona that had just reached ultimate glory, the treble from the previous season. Pep Guardiola had turned the team into a precision machine, and Messi was already the centre of that engine. But there was one question: could Messi maintain that level, or had it been just the beginning of a great moment? The Argentine answered the way he always does, with football. Messi started the season with an insatiable hunger. Even though Barça lost the UEFA Super Cup against Sevilla and later the Champions League, Messi's impact in every match was overwhelming. He was no longer just the winger who dribbled past defenders and scored. He was now the leader of the attack, the man who created chances from nothing and decided big games. In La Liga, his performance was simply brutal. 34 goals, including 3 hat-tricks, which established him as the league's top scorer. His ability to decide matches on his own was unique. Anytime Barça got into trouble, Messi appeared. In the Champions League, some questioned his impact in decisive stages. Messi's response? One of the most memorable individual performances in history: 4 goals against Arsenal at the Camp Nou. A magical night that silenced every doubt, and is still remembered as one of the most dominant single-player matches in the history of the competition. In the Club World Cup, he also left his mark. A goal in the semi-final. A goal in the final against Estudiantes, that chest goal that will forever live in the memory of Barcelona fans. Messi was everywhere, on every stage. The numbers from that season are staggering. 47 goals and 12 assists in 53 matches. It was the first time he surpassed the 45-goal barrier in a single year, and it wouldn't be the last. At just 22 years old, Messi was already posting numbers typical of a veteran in his prime. That season also left a lesson. Messi wasn't just a winger, nor just a false nine. He was everything at the same time. He could start on the right, drift into the centre, build the play, and then show up to finish. There was no way to mark him. One-on-one, double marking, man-to-man. Nothing worked. Every time he touched the ball, something happened. He was a constant threat. Barça couldn't repeat the treble. They fell in the Champions League semi-finals against Mourinho's Inter and lost the Copa del Rey final. But Messi closed the year with La Liga and another Ballon d'Or, confirming what was already obvious. The Argentine wasn't just maintaining his level, he was raising it season after season. Between 2009 and 2010 was the year Messi stopped being the young prodigy who shined beside others and became the absolute superstar of world football. The player no one could ignore. The unstoppable Messi. The 2010-2011 season began under enormous pressure. Guardiola's Barcelona had already conquered everything in 2009, but the elimination against Mourinho's Inter in 2010 had left scars. The world wondered, could this Barça keep dominating, or had they reached their ceiling? The answer was as clear as it was overwhelming. Barça still hadn't shown its best version. Pep Guardiola understood that to keep growing, he needed to refine the style even further. Ball possession, passing triangles, high pressing, everything had to be executed perfectly. And at the center of that project was Lionel Messi. The Argentine was no longer just a goal scorer, he was the heart of the system. A false nine who dropped deep to receive, dragged defenders, and freed up space for Pedro, Villa, and Iniesta to attack. Messi was the axis of everything. The numbers from that season reflect his impact. 53 goals and 24 assists in 55 matches, the first time he surpassed 50 goals in a single year. But beyond the stats, what set Messi apart in those years was his ability to influence every play, even when he wasn't scoring. He could assist, create play, or simply draw defenders so others could shine. A perfect example was the Clásico on November 29, 2010, when Barça destroyed Mourinho's Real Madrid in an unforgettable 5-0. Messi didn't score a single goal, but he was the engine behind every play. With his movement between the lines, he completely disorganized Madrid's defense, assisted 2 goals, and led a performance that went down in history as one of the greatest collective football displays ever seen. In the Champions League, Messi once again became the decisive man. In the semi-finals against Real Madrid at the Santiago Bernabeu, he scored 2 unforgettable goals, the first after a collective play, and the second, a Maradona-like goal, weaving through half of Madrid's defense with humiliating ease. That night, at just 23 years old, Messi silenced the Bernabeu and sealed the ticket to the Wembley final. The final against Manchester United is considered by many to be the best performance by a team in a Champions League final. Barça dominated with 68% possession and 89% passing accuracy. Xavi and Iniesta controlled the tempo, Busquets swept the entire midfield, and Messi was the final dagger. He scored the 2-1 with a lethal shot from outside the box and was unstoppable throughout the match. After the game, Rio Ferdinand, one of the best defenders of his generation, admitted, "It was like going into a war without weapons." Barça closed that season with La Liga and the Champions League, and Messi lifted his 3rd consecutive Ballon d'Or, confirming that he was the best player in the world. But more than that, this season marked a turning point. Messi had reached his full maturity, not only as a goal scorer, but as the absolute leader of the most dominant team football had ever seen. It wasn't just the year of the best Messi. It was the year of the best Barça, a team that played at such a high level it seemed from another planet. And at the center of everything was always Messi, the player who turned a perfect system into something unstoppable. The 2011-2012 season began with a different challenge for Barcelona. After winning the Champions League at Wembley and being proclaimed the best team in the world, many believed there was no room left for improvement. But Messi, instead of settling, decided to break every limit. What was coming wasn't just another great season. It was a year that would change forever the concept of what was possible in football. Pep Guardiola had already built a perfect system based on possession, high pressing, and collective movement. But now, Messi was taking that model to a new personal level. He became a total player, false 9, playmaker, assister, scorer. He did everything, and he did it at the highest possible level. In La Liga, Messi posted unreal numbers, 50 goals in 37 matches, an absolute record that no one had ever achieved before, and that still seems otherworldly today. He also added 16 assists, meaning he directly contributed to 66 goals in the league alone. In the Champions League, he was unstoppable once again. He scored 14 goals, including one of the most historic nights in the competition, the 5 goals against Bayer Leverkusen in the round of 16. Never before had a player scored 5 times in a single Champions League match. That performance was the clearest proof that Messi was playing at a level no defense in the world could reach. In the Copa del Rey, he added another 5 goals, including a masterclass in the final against Athletic Bilbao. That goal, starting from the right wing, dribbling past defenders, and finishing with his left foot, is considered one of the masterpieces of his career. A goal that perfectly summarizes his essence: speed, control, dribbling, and a lethal finish. In total, Messi ended the season with 73 goals and 32 assists in 60 official matches, the best mark ever recorded by a player in the history of modern football. No other footballer had ever reached such a level of productivity in a single year. But it wasn't just about the numbers. Messi reinvented what it meant to be a forward. It wasn't only about scoring goals. He dropped into midfield to start plays, link up with Xavi and Iniesta, attract defenders, open up spaces, and then reappear in the box to finish. He was both creator and finisher at the same time, the brain and the execution. Despite these historic numbers, The season wasn't perfect for Barça. They lost La Liga to Mourinho's Real Madrid and were eliminated in the Champions League semi-finals by Chelsea. It was a tough year collectively, but on an individual level, Messi made it clear he was reaching a dimension no one in football had ever touched. The Argentine ended the season with his fourth consecutive Ballon d'Or, establishing himself as the best player on the planet and fully entering the debate for the greatest of all time. What Messi did that season was far more than breaking records. It was redefining the limits of the sport. It was playing on career mode, in real life. After Guardiola's departure in 2012 and the transition seasons with Tito Villanova and Tata Martino, Barça was trying to return to the top of Europe. The cycle seemed to be fading, and many wondered if Messi had reached his ceiling. The answer arrived with one of the most feared attacking trios in football history, the MSN, Neymar, Suarez, and Messi. In 2013, Neymar arrived from Santos as the great promise of Brazilian football. In 2014, Luis Suarez landed in Barcelona after winning the Golden Boot in the Premier League with Liverpool. Together with Messi, Barça formed a trio that looked unstoppable. Three different but complementary players, Neymar, magic and dribbling from the left, Suarez, power and lethal finishing in the center, and Messi, the complete mastermind from the right. Their chemistry was instant. From their very first season together, they understood each other as if they had spent their entire lives sharing a locker room. On the pitch, they were unpredictable, unstoppable. No team in Europe had enough defenders to contain them. The challenge wasn't marking one, it was trying to stop three superstars who enhanced each other. In the 2014-2015 season, they reached the summit. Barça won the treble, La Liga, the Copa del Rey, and the Champions League. The MSN produced outrageous numbers, 122 goals and 64 assists in a single season. The trio destroyed opponents one by one. In the Champions League, they eliminated Manchester City in the round of 16, PSG in the quarter-finals, Guardiola's Bayern Munich in the semi-finals, and beat Juventus with Pogba, Pirlo, and Buffon in the final. It was their absolute consecration. Messi, as always, was the leader. His goal against Bayern Munich in the semi-finals, dropping Jerome Boateng to the ground before chipping the ball over Manuel Neuer, became one of the most iconic plays of his career. A goal that summarized Messi's essence: intelligence, dribbling, precision, and ice-cold finishing. In the Copa del Rey, he delivered another masterpiece. The goal against Athletic Bilbao, running from the right wing, leaving defenders behind, and finishing with power. A play reminiscent of Maradona, but with Messi's signature. During the 3 years the MSN stayed together, their numbers were unreal: 364 goals and 171 assists between the three. Never before had a trio shown such an impact in so little time. Neymar reached his best version. Suarez won the Golden Boot in 2016, surpassing even Messi and Cristiano, and Leo became the conductor of that dream attack. But beyond the titles and the goals, the MSN represented something more: Messi's ability to adapt and reinvent himself. He was no longer just the false nine living in the box. He moved all over the pitch, dropped into midfield to build plays, released Neymar into space, assisted Suarez, and at the same time, he continued scoring goals at an inhuman rate. It was the most complete version of Messi, balancing creation and finishing like no one else. The titles followed: 2 La Ligas, 3 Copas del Rey, a Champions League, a UEFA Super Cup, and a Club World Cup. But there were also stumbles. Painful Champions League eliminations against Atletico de Madrid 2016 and Juventus 2017, which marked the beginning of the end of this era. Neymar left for PSG that same summer, bringing the most feared attacking trio in the world to an end. The MSN was an unrepeatable phenomenon, a combination of talents that aligned at the perfect moment. And at the heart of that offensive storm, as always, was Messi. The man who made everything work, the player who turned a lethal trio into a historic spectacle. After Neymar's departure in 2017 and the physical decline of key players like Iniesta and Suarez, Football Club Barcelona entered a stage of deep transformation. It was the end of a golden generation. The locker room needed a new leader, someone to carry the history and expectations of the entire club. That man was Lionel Messi. In the 2018-2019 season, Messi officially became Barca's captain. He was no longer just the best player, the one who decided matches with his football. Now he also had to be the voice, the reference, the shield, a role that placed him at the center of all attention, with the responsibility of carrying a team in reconstruction. The situation was complicated. Xavi and Iniesta were gone. Neymar had left for PSG, and the midfield no longer had the fluidity or creativity of the past. Barca was less solid, less brilliant, but they had Messi. And that season, Leo responded with one of his most complete and impressive campaigns. 51 goals and 19 assists in 50 matches. 36 goals in La Liga, top scorer and Golden Boot. Top scorer of the Champions League with 12 goals. Best forward and best player of the Champions League, according to UEFA. 8 free-kick goals, one of his personal records. Messi wasn't just decisive in Spain, he was decisive in Europe as well. In the Champions League quarter-finals against Manchester United, he scored 2 goals in the second leg at the Camp Nou, one of them after a solo play where he stole the ball and finished with class. It was proof that he was performing at a level far above the rest. In the semi-finals came what was perhaps one of his most iconic matches. The first leg against Liverpool at the Camp Nou. Messi scored twice, one of them a free kick that still seems impossible today. From more than 30 meters out, he sent the ball into the top corner, unreachable for Alisson Becker. The Camp Nou erupted, and the commentators said it clearly. It was a goal destined for eternity. Barca won 3-0 and seemed to have one foot in the final. At the start of the season, Messi had promised they would do everything possible to bring the Champions League back to the Camp Nou, and that night it looked like he was keeping his word. He was a leader on and off the pitch, literally carrying the team on his shoulders. But football can be cruel. In the return leg at Anfield, one of the most painful chapters in Barca's recent history took place. The infamous 4-0 against Liverpool. The team collapsed, unable to withstand the English pressure. The play of the fourth goal, the quick corner taken by Trent Alexander-Arnold that found Origi alone in the box, became the symbol of an unexpected disaster. Messi fought, tried, but he was far too alone. That night left an unforgettable scar. To make matters worse, Barca also lost the Copa del Rey final against Valencia, ending the season with only the La Liga title. And although Messi had been brilliant on an individual level, the collective failure partially overshadowed his season. However, the most important part of this stage was what it proved. Messi no longer needed a Xavi, an Iniesta, or an MSN to shine. Messi was the system. He was the goal scorer, the playmaker, the captain, and the emotional leader. That year, he proved through statistics and through football that he could practically do it on his own, that he was the true magic of Barca. For years, the biggest criticism of Lionel Messi had nothing to do with his talent or his achievements with Barcelona. The question was always the same. Yes, but he hasn't won anything with the national team. For many, that was the big stain on his legacy. Messi had been close on multiple occasions. The 2014 World Cup final lost to Germany at the Maracanã. The Copa America finals in 2015 and 2016, both lost on penalties against Chile. After that last defeat, in tears, Messi even announced his retirement from the national team. It seemed that the weight of the Albiceleste jersey was too heavy, that he would never achieve what so many Argentinians demanded. But football always gives second chances, and Messi couldn't walk away without trying one more time. With the arrival of Lionel Scaloni as coach, the national team found new energy. A young, hungry group willing to run for their captain. For the first time in a long time, Messi wasn't isolated. He had partners, a team that played for him, but also with him. The 2021 Copa America was the end of the curse. Brazil, Maracanã, the dream final. Messi against the eternal rival in their own home. Throughout the tournament, Messi had been unstoppable. Free-kick goals, assists, leadership. But destiny wanted Ángel Di María to be the one to score the only goal of the match. Argentina won 1-0, and Messi finally lifted his first title with the senior national team. Images of Leo crying, hugging his teammates, went around the world. The curse was over. Messi was now a champion with Argentina. Qatar, 2022 World Cup, the final act. A year later came the ultimate test. Qatar 2022, the World Cup. At 35, many doubted whether Messi could handle the physical demands of such an intense tournament. But what we saw was perhaps the best version of Leo in the Albiceleste jersey. From the very first match, Messi played like a man on a mission. He scored in the group stage, led the team in every match, and in the knockout rounds he became an unstoppable force. Against the Netherlands in the quarterfinals, he delivered a magical assist to Molina and scored in the penalty shootout. In the semi-finals against Croatia, he dismantled the tournament's best defender, Joško Gvardiol, with a historic dribble that ended in a goal by Julian Alvarez. And then came the final. Argentina versus France, Messi versus Mbappe. It was a legendary match. Messi scored once in regular time and again in extra time. Mbappe, for his part, responded with a hat-trick. The 3-3 draw took us to penalties. The tension was unbearable. But Argentina, inspired by their captain, didn't falter. Gonzalo Montiel scored the decisive penalty, and Messi, at last, was able to lift the World Cup. With that triumph, Messi sealed his place in history as the greatest, world champion, champion of America, champion of everything. There was nothing left to debate, nothing left to question. His career was complete. Beyond the 7 Ballon d'Or awards, the more than 800 goals, the Champions Leagues and the domestic titles, what defined Messi was his ability to evolve. At Barcelona, he was the prodigy, the false nine, the ultimate leader. With Argentina, he became the symbol of resilience, the man who stood up after every defeat until he finally reached the greatest glory. And when he lifted that trophy in Qatar, with the Arab robe over his shoulders, the entire world knew we were witnessing the final act of the most magical career football has ever seen. Redemption was complete. At 36 years old, Lionel Messi's legacy was no longer a promise, it was eternity. He had reached every summit, conquered every corner of the game with the subtlety of an artist and the fierceness of a competitor. He wasn't the tallest, the strongest, or the loudest, but he was the greatest, the most precise, the most consistent, the most human in his genius. With more than 1,000 matches, hundreds of goals and assists that changed destinies, Messi didn't just play football, he redesigned it. He was the architect of impossible moments, the heartbeat of entire generations. From Rosario to Paris, from La Masia to the skies of Qatar, his story was written in gold. Today, as the world keeps spinning and new talents emerge, one truth remains untouched, like a statue standing in the middle of a storm. Football had a king, and his name was Lionel Andres Messi. There will never be another like him. There can't be, because miracles by definition don't repeat themselves. There will never be another Lionel Messi. If this legacy moved you as much as it moved us, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications.